over Chapter 3, the basic math for limited operators. We're going to start off with some kind of review of how to do fractions and decimals. We're going to do some practice problems with the fractions and decimals. And the first set of problems we're going to start with are reducing these fractions here. You can follow along with me in your book in Chapter 3. Now, the first problem is a 5 over 15. To reduce it to its lowest terms, you have to find out first what 5 and 15 have in common, their common multiples. And 5 and 15 common multiples is really 5. Okay? 5 for the top can be divisible, 15 can be divisible by 5 to help reduce it to 1 over 3. Okay? And I'm going to kind of explain that one more time. First, we find what 5 and 15 have in common as far as the multiples. Then once we find out that what they have in common, we try to divide or think of those divisibles and get the lowest term. So 5 goes into 5 one time, and then 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay? Now let's do the same thing for B. With the 3 over 9. The 3 and a 9 have in common is 3. Okay? They both can be divided by 3. Okay? Right? 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 9 divided by 3 is 3 as well. So that's 1/3. Let's keep it going. See what these two have in common. Okay? They have like 4s, they have 6 and 2, but we try to find the greatest common multiple between the two to get our reduced term. Again, let me kind of explain this a little bit. Because 12 can be divided by like 1 times 12 itself, or 2 times 6, okay, and also 3 times 4. All right. 18, on the other hand, it is definitely 1 times 18, 2 times 9, and 3 times 6. I think that's the highest. And what I can use, again, the highest or the greatest common multiple of the 2 is 6. 6. So I'm going to divide these by 6. 12 divided by 6 equals 2, and 6 divided by 18 is 3, giving it 2 over 3, or 2/3. All right? 18, okay? Common multiple between these two are 2, okay? 18 divided by 2 is 9. And 20 divided by 2 is 10. We cannot reduce this any further because 9 and 10 does not have any common multiples. That's just a few problems that I've worked out with when we're reducing terms. This will be helpful when we're doing the later problems. But try to remember these things. Again, to reduce the terms, you want to find the greatest common multiple for both the numerator, which is the top number, and the denominator, which is the bottom number. Okay? For this next part, what I'm going to do, still continuing on page 27 and 28 in chapter 3, is part 2 of the practice problems. We're going to be multiplying whole numbers by the fractions. The first problem that I'm going to work out is 1/10 times 300. 1/10 times 300. Now, you could do this a couple of ways, okay? We can simply just divide the 1 divided by 10 times 300. 1 divided by 10, then times it by 300. 1 divided by 10 is simply 0.1, okay? If you put it in your calculator, which is the very easiest and fastest way to do this, is really divide the 1, put in your calculator the 1, then divide 10. Hit equal, it gives you your answer. Then you just multiply the problem, okay? So now we got 1/10 times 300, which is going to equal 30. And again, you can just simply put those calculations in your calculator. The other way you can do it is keeping the fractions. The other way you can do it is simply make the whole number itself into a fraction. So you can do 1/10 times 300, and all whole numbers turn into 3, the whole number on top, and then the denominator will be 1, okay? And so we just simply multiply across. 1 times 300 is equal to 300. And then 10 times 1 equals 10. And now we still have to simplify. We want to still turn this into a decimal. So 300 divided by 10 is going to give us 30. Our answer still is 30. So let's do this one. The 1/5 times 200. Again, I can turn this into a simple, lovely fraction before I begin the multiplication itself. And 1 divided by 5 equals 0.2. Okay? Times it by 200, which is simply going to give us 40. You continue with the practice problems through that page to make sure that you rehash that in your head of how to do that. And I can also still show you the alternative way of turning that whole number into a fraction as well, which is 1/5 times 200 over 1. I simply multiply 1 times 200 is 200. And then 5 times 1 is 5. I'm still going to get the same answer because 200 divided by 5 is 40. Simple, right? Okay. Okay. We're in chapter 3 still working under the fractions and decimals. We're still working on practice problems using fractions and decimals. But in part 3 of the practice problems on page 27, we are doing rounding off decimals. I have a few problems up there, but let me start off with the rules. The rules to rounding is simple. If the number to the right of it is 5 and up, round up, okay? And then if the number is 4 and below, we keep it the same. So here we go with the problems that's from the book, and even other problems that we will do. For example, A is 0.6666, right? And it keeps repeating. We run into that a few times when we're calculating, right? Or trying to solve problems. So what we want to do, because in the book it tells us we're just going to round off the second number behind the decimal, which is a 6. So we're going to look at the number that's to the right of it to see which way we round, whether we round up or round down. Because it is a 6, we're going to round up because it's above 5. And so we're going to basically add 1 to this to round up, and it's 0.67. The rest of the numbers we don't care for because we're rounding, so they drop off, and now our answer is 0.67. This is very helpful when we have repeating numbers and we just want a clean answer. So we just simplify it by rounding. Next, we have 7.711, okay? We're going to round the second place behind the decimal, which is the 1. So we're going to look at the number next to it, which is also a 1. And because it's a 1, remember, 4 and below, we keep it the same. So now our problem is going to be 7.71. Everything else we don't care for, it drops off. With C, we're going to do 1 place behind the decimal. As you can see, the 1 place behind the decimal is a 5, and even the number next to it is a 5. Again, any number that is 5 or below, 5 and above, we're going to round up. So it's 5.6. We don't care for the others. And lastly, we're going to do 3 places behind the decimal. The number we're going to round is the 9, but the number next to it is an 8. So because it's 5 and above, we're going to round up this number. Remember, we're adding that 1 to that one. Well, we have a situation here. It's 9. The next number is 10. So because it's 10, just like adding, we add it to the next column. And when we do that, now our problem goes to 10.250 or 10.25, which is the same. It's the same. And that is rounding off decimals.